Welcome to the Measurement Doctor Podcast. The doctors are in the house. And now your hosts, George and Lori Gill. Welcome to the Measurement Doctor Podcast, everybody. I'm George Gill.
I'm Lori Gill.
And episode 48.
Oh my
I got this
gosh,
right
you
this
do.
time.
You have it right.
I did, absolutely. And I am really excited. Today is a really special episode in my mind.
Why?
Because we have a great interview. And I know we say that all the time, but this is really, really special. This one is not what I would consider hype, but it's absolutely critical. So I'm really excited to get into it and talk a little bit about it.
So critical to your business.
Absolutely. To anybody's business, for sure.
Oh,
So
I didn't just mean yours specifically.
Well, it's all about me, Lori.
No, it's not.
God almighty. I keep telling you that.
Oh my gosh. Don't ask me what's going on. What's going on with you, George?
Well, let me tell you. If you're out there and you're listening to me, I don't know if you realize how hard it is to work with your spouse some days.
Oh my God.
But what a week it's been. What a week it's been. No, actually,
You're terrible.
It has been a fun week. I mentioned in the last episode that I just got back from my very, very first art sale. So that was really fun and exciting.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to build a whole new business now around that. And we got warnings popping up, my video. How does my Mac know I'm dissing you? And it starts slowing down. What was that?
I've added some code in there.
Yeah.
I'm not a techie, but
Don't be a hacker.
But
Don't be a hacker.
today's guest, I might have asked a few questions ahead of time. You know, you never know.
All right, so
Your art.
Yeah, my art. So getting really excited about getting the new website set up, and we're starting to process transactions. And going through that process, it kind of reminded me, which falls right in line with today's guest, about things like security and problems, especially when you start processing transactions. But I got to tell you, and I really am geared up about today's guest.
You're all over the place at the moment.
I know. Well, you see what happens when I don't ask you what's going on?
Go.
Anyways, so I have gone through the catastrophe of sites going down, sites being hacked, Google blocking my sites or customer sites because they've been hacked. And it is probably one of the most traumatizing experiences. And I know that's incredibly traumatizing to deal with. And we just looks like we lost our video. We're going to try and get that back. There we go. There we go. We got video back. All right. So without further ado, let me introduce today's guest, because let's just get right to the
this topic
episode.
is near and dear to your heart. So
Absolutely.
Let's go.
All right. So who we have on the line today is Weston Henry. And Weston is a web security research analyst at SiteLock, the leading provider of website security solutions for businesses. At SiteLock, he is responsible for training and leading an international team in analyzing code to prevent future attacks.
That's cool.
It's really cool. He has over 15 years of experience in security, engineering, and IT, with expertise in enabling organizations to mitigate their website compromise, risks, and investigating and responding to breaches. Weston holds a BS degree in manufacturing engineering technology and an MS degree in security engineering technology, both from Arizona State University.
Ooh.
I'm so excited to have him on the line. Welcome, Weston.
Yes, thank you for being here.
Thank you, George and Lori, for having me. I really appreciate it.
Now, I got to come clean right here, right up front. I am actually a SiteLock customer. And that's how I went hunting Weston out over at SiteLock, because I'm just going to tell you right now, right up front, and I'll reemphasize this at the end of the episode. I wake up breathing a lot easier now that they are on my team. They're part of my power team. So why don't we jump right in? And Weston, why don't you tell us, what is SiteLock and how does it work?
Of course. SiteLock is a cloud-based web security company. We provide security for website security, I should say. And we have two main classes of products. The first being our TrueShield web application firewall. The second is our suite of scanners, particularly the Smart Scanner. That scanner finds malicious code, malware on sites automatically and removes that code automatically. It works by, let's talk about the firewall. It works with just a couple of changes in your hosting control panel, and then the traffic will basically flow through our servers all around the world, and we'll analyze the traffic and block bad traffic and allow good traffic. That's the most basic explanation of what our firewall does. The scanners, we have multiple scanners. We scan for the website, the domain on blacklists. We'll notify the customer if they get on a spam blacklist or Google's blacklist. We have vulnerability scanners, so we look for vulnerabilities in the website and alert the customer if we find any. And then, of course, that Smart Scanner, where we actually get all of the source files for a website and go through the code line by line and say, yep, that's bad, get it out of there.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, in finding SiteLock, I know personally, one of the problems is, and you might be, if you're listening to the podcast, you might be thinking, well, I don't have any problems with my website. And unfortunately, that's the attitude a lot of small and mid-sized businesses take, is that if it's not broke, don't worry about it. The problem is that when something happens, it's far worse to get it repaired than be preventative, which is what you were just talking about there, really being preventative and taking action as it occurs and not having to go see the doctor after and get, shots and medicine and everything else. Right. So I found SiteLock through our host, and I guess you guys have a lot of relationships with different hosts as well. We on this particular site use Bluehost, and I know they're connected with you guys as well.
Because we had never heard of SiteLock before.
No. And who thinks to go search, right, until you have that problem? But I'm telling you, now that you're listening to this episode, you can. Can you tell us a little bit about what is hacking? Because a lot of people, you said things like malware there. Those kind of terminologies. A lot of businesses don't know that. They don't even know what that is until it shows up as a red or black screen on Google when they go looking for their site.
Right. The term comes from, the term comes from the MIT Model Railroad Club in the late 50s. Oh. And it means, it means a way to tweak technology to make it do something it wasn't supposed to do in a usually clever and sometimes elegant way. And that's where the term comes from. What we deal with and what sites deal with today are criminals, crime really. We're dealing with attackers, bad actors who want to compromise websites and use the resources of that site for most of the time profit, sometimes political gain. That's the gist of it. We deal with crime. So the term hacking itself, I think, is really a good term. I think there are a lot of good hackers out there. And we deal with the bad guys. We're not helping people with new ways to use technology. The attackers aren't helping people, with new ways to use technology. They're trying to break into stuff, to make money.
Right.
So why does a hacker care about me? Or like in the spectrum of websites, I might just be a small website. Why hack me? Why hack my site?
That's a great question. In fact, I just wrote a post that's a prescient question. I just wrote a blog post about that, dispelling the myth of why my site. Having your website compromised is very personal. It's a violation.
It is.
Whether it's your fine art site or your business, it's somebody breaking into what is yours, and that always seems personal, and that's absolutely understandable. The thing is, they really don't care about you. They've got automatic tools that are scanning the whole internet looking for websites with any one of multiple vulnerabilities, and when these tools find one, they exploit it, upload their spam, upload a mailer to send spam. and try to stay inside your site and use your resources as long as possible. So there are cases where people are particularly after some companies or political organizations, but that's going to be more rare. For most people with small to medium-sized businesses, it's not personal.
And that's really hard for businesses to get their head wrapped around because, as you said, it is a very personal attack. And I know when I was getting set up with SiteLock, I was on the phone with your support quite a bit. And I almost felt like they had to have a psychology degree because I was so emotionally charged, and angry that
this is happening.
That this has happened, and how dare somebody? And they're trying to calm me down and say, George, they really don't even know who you are, nor do they care.
But this wasn't your first time either.
No.
And that was the thing. You think you lock your site down, you go through certain processes to lock your site down, and it just happens again and again. And
I've tried so many times. I know we're kind of getting off topic, but you
can
tell how passionate I am about this topic. I've tried so many times to handle site security myself or with my programming team. And I love Weston's bio because, he's done all this research and it's changing all the time. This is his job. He's studying this stuff and teaching this stuff. So as it's changing, I'm assuming you're on top of these changes.
Yeah, you nailed it. It's changing all the time. It's an arms race. Mm-hmm. The bad actors are always trying to find new vulnerabilities in code, and new code is coming out all the time for, your favorite CMS like WordPress or your favorite e-commerce software. They're going to find those vulnerabilities and exploit them, and we need to make sure we try to find them before they do, and notify developers. If not, we try to make sure that we can clean them rapidly, automatically even. So as it happens, like our Infinity scanner, it's part of Smart. It's scanning a site continuously. So even if there's something that nobody knows about, bad actors have found a vulnerability that's never been seen before, we can still, hey, that doesn't look right, find that and possibly remove it. Sure. And even if we can't remove it right then, reliably, we don't want to break any sites. We make sure we don't remove anything that'll break a site. It'll take about 24 hours and then it'll be removed automatically.
That's a really good point.
So therefore then sites can be hacked and the business owners know nothing about it. They have no clue that they've been hacked.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Attackers will put in code that will keep anybody like you, me, if we just use a regular browser and go to the site, and we'll see nothing. We'll see, fine art. We'll see, handbags, whatever, the site is selling. But if Google goes to the site, it'll see links to pharmacies, or it'll see links to fake, handbags, stuff like that. So, yeah, you can be hacked and not even know it.
Wow.
Now, I don't know if you caught it, but there was almost a hint in Weston's tone throughout when he's talking about the hackers of respect.
But it's because it's challenging Weston to step it up.
Yeah.
And
yes, this is my dream job because technically I get to hack on code in a good way, as the good guy.
He's the good really hacker. Fun. He's the superhero hacker.
Yeah. I was catching that fine line. And I'm thinking, to catch a hacker, who's better than a good hacker?
I know, right?
There's maybe something to that.
There you go.
But we're definitely white hats at SiteLock, that's for sure.
Awesome. Okay, let's scare everybody now and really put the emphasis here because, again, I really emphasize the challenge towards site security is most businesses don't realize it's not if they'll get hacked, it's when, because it's happening all over the internet. And as we just addressed, many don't know, and that can go on long periods of time, I believe, correct?
Yes, yeah. We've seen sites years they've had bad code.
Wow.
Yeah. So what are the ramifications today with today's technology, Google's technology, Bing's, of their scanners and what have you, and everything else? What are the ramifications of not having site protection?
You actually mentioned one of the big ones earlier, and that's getting that big red, alert from Google when you try to do a site that says, "Hey," or in your browser, whether it's Firefox, Chrome, "Hey, this site's been hacked. Here's a big red error message. Don't go here." And that's the worst thing that can really happen to a site. That just, stopped a customer, maybe stop them from coming back again. You don't want to see this site may be hacked if somebody's searching for your site in Google. It can affect your Google ranking. I think if a site's hacked and it's remediated quick enough, I don't think it'll hurt too much. But just seeing that big red error message is really bad. It can affect a lot of businesses really quick. And your reputation is at stake. Seeing that error message or seeing something bad on your site, something distasteful, it's never a good thing, and reputation is valuable. So you want to make sure you don't, you stay secure and you don't get any of that bad stuff on there. So people, visitors find you reputable and they feel secure going to your site.
Yeah, because can you imagine, even if you're a local shop and you have just a website for exposure or because you have to have a website in your mind, and somebody goes to your website before they go to your store and they get this big Google warning, this site may be unsafe, it has malware and what have. It's a very scary message. That's going to affect whether I go to your store or not.
Absolutely, it will. Yeah. So it's in your mind then,
Yeah, exactly. So and if you're an analytics student of ours and you've taken our Google Analytics, then we teach that you need to connect your Webmaster Tools to your analytics. In your Webmaster Tools, you'll get notifications from Google saying, "Hey, we've seen suspicious code on your site. You need to fix this, or we're going to de-index you," which means you're out of there. You're off the list. So even if people search your name, you're not coming up. That's a worst case scenario. But getting it fixed is a process of jumping through hoops. Having a protection company on board really changes that in a big way.
So how big of a problem is site security? Like, it's obviously a growing thing, but how quickly is it growing?
Wow, I'm sure everybody has seen the news of big breaches. Target was a big one. The Office of Personnel Management here in the U.S. It's, as you said, it's a growing problem. I know we have numbers on SiteLock.com about how many sites are, thousands of sites are hacked a month, things like that. It is a growing problem, technically mostly because the systems themselves, the hardware that sites are kept on, are pretty secure. We know how to secure the hardware, the servers, the computers themselves. So bad guys, bad actors, they move towards the next soft piece, and that's the website. It's accessible anywhere in the world, and it's a portal right into your business.
Right.
And as you mentioned, everybody has a website. That's your presence in the world now, almost, even if it's just a brochure site. So protecting that, virtual storefront is imperative. And because everybody's going to have it, more and more people are getting online, even if it is just a brochure site, it's going to be a growing problem and a continuing problem.
How do hackers get in?
There's multiple ways. It depends on the site. It depends on if it's WordPress, Joomla, Drupal. It depends on if it's custom coded. And it depends on the vulnerabilities. There may be a mistake was made in the code somewhere, one off somewhere, and it allows the bad guys in. Something's not, some user input isn't cleaned properly, and the bad guys can inject, stuff into a site. I could go into the technical aspects of attacks. But to summarize, the bad guys have a whole suite of exploits, vulnerabilities in software that they could take advantage of at any time. So it's not just one way, there's lots of ways.
Yeah, and this isn't just some guy at his computer typing saying, "Oh, I'm going to break into your site." They have programs that are doing this automatically while everybody sleeps.
These are professionals.
But yet, we talk about our passcodes and everything being protected that way, and we lock down with these 20-digit codes so that nobody would be able to figure out how to get in. So how do they get in?
They go around that code, right? You just go around it. So unless your site is completely static, meaning it's just kind of like an image on the net, like a brochure site, there's usually some kind of dynamic code that does something, interacts with a database, interacts with other services. And usually through those interactions, through complexity, is when the bad guys find the chinks in the armor of the website and exploit them.
So going through the password route, because what Lori's bringing up there, I think, is important for people to understand. The password is just one way of somebody getting in, and it's probably not even the high percentage of the way a site gets hacked, I would think.
Correct. Yeah, I wouldn't know percentages offhand. It is an attack, and we do see things like brute force attacks which means the bad guys are trying usernames and passwords over and over and over.
I've had that on my site before, where I whatever the WordPress plugin that I had, it kept alerting me that someone's been trying to log into your site like a gazillion times.
Yeah,
and that's
that is I shouldn't say it doesn't happen, because it's effective and it does happen.
Yeah.
A lot of the big exploits that take over thousands of websites we've seen lately aren't through brute force.
Okay.
But it is absolutely something website owners need to be cognizant of. Most of the exploits, I'll use WordPress as an example, happen through vulnerable plugins. So a plugin may have a vulnerability. The coders just made an honest mistake, didn't consider security, whatever it is, and it's uploaded to the site or thousands or millions of sites.
Right.
And then the bad guys go through the code, find something, and wow, now they know what to search the net for. They find all the sites with that vulnerable plugin and get inside the site.
Wow.
Because once they find it in one, they can
mass produce.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this almost seems like a silly question, knowing what we know, but just to make sure that there's not something I'm not thinking of. When should a business consider a service like SiteLock?
Personally, I think as soon as you get on the net.
Yeah.
And you kind of touched on it earlier. You're busy, right? Mm-hmm. You're doing a lot of stuff. You don't have time to secure your website, right? That's not your specialty. To best serve you and your loved ones, you need to specialize in your art or your other businesses. You can't worry about security. So I recommend getting that as soon as you get a website. Get some kind of security on that website as soon as you can, so you don't have to worry about it. Economic specialization, right?
Yeah.
Let experts in security protect your website.
And let me tell you from experience, after you're hacked, if you think you were saving money or time, you're going to get a rude awakening.
Thank you.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So many people find security as just a cost, but it really isn't. It's kind of an investment.
My God. The extreme of the other side, I just can't.
Well, you're
begin
trying
to, tell
to
you
do
the
it
pain.
yourself with your programmers.
Oh my God.
You spent.
Days.
I'm honestly going to say it felt like a week solid, because just when you had it working, it went back down agawn, and I'm like,
something
what the heck?
Yeah, that's stressful.
Yes, it is. Well put, Weston. Well put. Now, when somebody comes on to SiteLock, which is another concern that I've always had when people are outsourcing a lot now of their work and their designs, is how do we know that we can even trust that build to be clean? That even if it's not devious, the programmer could have a virus on their computer they don't know about that is initiating the problem right from minute go. So one of the things I like, and I'm doing Weston's interview here for him, but one of the things I like about SiteLock is that they do that initial scan right up front when you get onto their service. So they initially scan it and look for everything that needs to happen. But going back to the question, which I know is a simple question, when's a good time to look for security? Literally, you can start online with a problem.
And not know
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
And not know it.
Yeah, I always laugh when clients will ask me, how do I stay secure? Then I say, don't plug in.
That's very true. Yeah, it's very true. It's
But if you're
that's an
gonna
astute statement.
do everything you can to protect yourself. So
That's an astute statement. We have seen that is a way to compromise websites, and we have seen that basically any workstation in that chain to get that website up and running is compromised, can compromise the whole thing.
yeah, and it's not even a devious act in that case, but it still happens all the time.
Yep.
All the time. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so my site's on WordPress, and I have security plugins that I've downloaded through WordPress. So why would I, or do I need to have a service like SiteLock too?
Great question. There are security plugins for WordPress and other CMSs. They do a good job. They all work with SiteLock. I wouldn't say don't use them. Absolutely use them. That's fine. They do a great job. They don't go as far as what SiteLock does. Like I mentioned, we've got teams working 24/7, looking at malware, researching malware, adding new signatures. So we're dedicated to this. That's one big plus. The other is that the plugin deals with WordPress. And let's say your website has an e-commerce section, and WordPress is just the blog part of your business or your website. Right? That plugin will deal with WordPress, but not the other part. We will download all of the site files and look at all of the source code. So we'll find it in WordPress, we'll find it in custom code, we'll find it in Magento, whatever software you're using, we'll find the stuff. And regarding our firewall, we'll stop attacks before they even get to the plugin. So SiteLock, again, will work with any of these plugins, and they're fine. Use them. We're all about security, so please, any more security is good. But SiteLock goes beyond all of that. In fact, to the point where we stop attacks before they even get there.
Yeah, and there's the accountability side too. Most plugins, especially if they're free or even if they're not free, are backed by one man or a team show of two people kind of thing creating the plugin. And when your site gets hacked and you have this security plugin that you thought you were protected, it's pretty hard to pick up the phone and call them and say, hey, I've been hacked, fix this, it's your fault. There's no accountability there. If something goes wrong with my site, I pick up the phone and I call SiteLock, or if I'm using another vendor and say, hey, I'm paying for your service, what
have you done lately?
Yeah, what's going on, kind of thing. So,
and that means a lot.
Yeah. I think for me, it's everything. But I've been hacked, right? So I know the pain. The sad part is how do you get that across to people that haven't been hacked
and
yet?
Don't think they ever will be hacked because they think that they have these big passcodes and nobody's getting in.
Exactly. Okay, so let's take a right turn here for a little bit and go away from the website. Does site protection affect email deliverability?
It does not. SiteLock doesn't provide email protection. We protect websites and website traffic. Okay. We do, however, have a spam scan, and we will track whatever the domain is for the website that's registered with SiteLock. We will keep track of all of the spam blacklists, and as soon as you're on it, we'll notify you. So we'll probably let you know before anybody else does. That's the great thing about it. But otherwise, no, it doesn't affect email at all.
Okay, perfect. Now, if you're consistently getting hacked, though, is your domain somehow targeted by the mail servers and thrown into spam because it gets on that list?
So, if I understand correctly, what happens is if let's say your website is compromised and they're sending spam from your site, we see they're called mailers, we see them all the time. Right. That will get your site blacklisted, and you won't be able to send mail from that domain, whether it's from your desktop or even the bad guys sending it from your site. So you don't want to, first of all, you don't want to get compromised, so people are sending spam from your site. And next, you don't want to get on if you do get on those spam lists, you want to be notified as soon as possible so we can find what the issue is and get off those lists.
Right.
So therefore, then it does affect your deliverability in the sense that if that mailer is happening, now
like a domino effect.
your email is now going to junk or spam, or it's being alerted that you're sending out junk.
It's like a domino effect. I also found interesting, we had a client come to us recently that had been hacked, and we had to get their site back up and running. But what they should have been a clear-cut hint, but they just weren't aware, is that their site started slowing down, and it turns out their server was spam emailing, so it was stealing all the resources of the site. So it was kind of a signal there.
Great example.
Yeah. Okay, so I've been hacked. What's my first step?
Panic.
You hit the nail on the head. It's exactly what you do.
Quit. Run.
Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly. Just drop everything, go. Now, do the complete opposite. I think the first thing you need to do is not panic. It's not the end. It's not good, but it's not the end of the world. If you don't have the technical means, or you're not sure what's going on, get help, whether it's SiteLock or somewhere else. I can say that, and again, this is the preventative you mentioned, George. Make sure you have good backups off of the hosting provider.
So key.
Yes.
So then your first step can be, okay, I've got good backups. I can build it somewhere else or rebuild it at this host. So don't panic.
How often should you be backing up then?
That depends on the site. It depends on the site and the data on your site. If it's something that like you've got a daily blog, or a lot of information from customers that's constantly changing, daily, weekly at most. If it's a brochure site, then every month or so, or whenever you make a change, make a good backup. And again, make sure it's stored off of the web server, off of the host.
Right. I don't want people to get the misconception, though, that backup is a security plan, because I've actually had a situation where a client came to us and he had backups, but what he didn't realize is that his backups were contaminated because his site was hacked over 12 months before. And his backups were actually, most backup systems will do like a daily and then a monthly or something of that. They had become contaminated. So even his backups had to be cleaned. It wasn't as simple as just, reinstating a backup and we're good to go.
That's worst case. Yeah. That's when it's really bad. Yeah, if you've got a rolling backup cycle and that whole cycle is infected, it's not going to be good. Doesn't mean again, not the end of the world. But
you've been through it all, eh?
Man, oh man, I'll tell you.
I'm saying we should be switching.
Anybody wants to talk to me about security, I know how important it is. It is painful. Okay, so what can I expect to pay for website security? Knowing there's many packages, and I know we're not going to go through packages here. I just want people to get an idea or an understanding that this is an investment, but it's also affordable. The risk of not doing it is far greater. So can you give us some sense of costs?
Sure. How affordable SiteLock is? Of course. It's so.
I had to really twist his arm there,
SiteLock actually does have free options. We have a free version of the TrueShield firewall. It's and as you go up and up towards the enterprise plans, of course they become more expensive, but you have many more options and configurability, things like that. I believe there's a free option for the scanner. The beauty, and is one of the reasons why I like SiteLock, and this comes from the president down, is that good security means giving somebody or a site what they need, right? Not too much security, not too little security. You need to have the right scanning package for your site, and everyone is dedicated to that. That's the only way we can, and this is one of our slogan, is to democratize web security, to make sure it's affordable and available to all. So when you call in, I can't unfortunately speak to prices. I'm not sure. I know if you call in or go to the website, you can get prices for any of our packages. But if you call into and talk to one of our security associates, they're going to ask you, what is your site? What do you do? What do you see? And then they're going to recommend the right firewall and scanning package for you. Because again, it doesn't help us. It doesn't help you if you've got this blown out scanner that you don't need. So.
Right. And if you're using Google Analytics, you know how much traffic you're getting, so you can answer those questions intelligently.
Yeah.
Dang it.
No, that's great point. That's a really good point.
Just saying.
Yes, George.
Just putting that out there.
Yes, geeky George.
Okay. Well, there you go. So from pricing from free, there's no reason why anybody shouldn't be doing this. Now, I'm on a paid version, and I wouldn't even consider the free because I want accountability, but that's where I'm at.
Well, you've been hacked too many times.
Well,
so.
But the reality is, how can you not pay attention to this if the option starts there? And of course, you can go up and what have you. There's just no reason not to.
Well, you think about it too, though. I mean, if you have a security system or security alarms or whatever in your home, why wouldn't you do the same for your online business?
Yeah.
Right? If you have it at your place of business or your home, why wouldn't you have it for your online home as well? Your online business.
And I think there's a disconnect that people do not realize how personal it is when you've been hacked. They don't know until you've felt it.
Yeah.
You feel violated.
Very violated, I know.
You're
Because
ticked.
you don't know everywhere they've been in your site and what else has been affected. And now it's like this guessing game. Whereas, as you said, once SiteLock took over, it was like this big weight was lifted off your shoulders. I could see color back in his face again.
Well, and somebody might be listening to this and saying, what are you guys, crazy? It's just my website. Well, just send us your URL. I'll send it out to a few bad hackers, and we'll see how you feel. No.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
And it's true. And unfortunately, too many people find out about security that way. It's already happened.
Yeah.
If it's your livelihood, which kind of brings us into, in shopping for a service like SiteLock, what should we be asking you?
Yeah, because you have competitors, and it's good to shop around and what have you. What are the tough questions?
I think, and this is a tough question. I think when shopping around for a web security product, you need to know, how is it going to be set up? How is the setup going to affect my site? Will it affect email deliverability, right? Will changing configurations for my website affect how I send email? Things like that. What is it going to take? Also, obviously prices is one. Tell them, I mentioned this earlier, tell whoever you're talking to, this is what I have. And if they can tell you this is what you need, right? If they're just saying no matter what you tell them, they're going to give you this one package, that's not right. Security is not the same everywhere. You don't secure nuclear weapons as you secure the stereo in your car. That's
fair.
It's not tenable. So you want to make sure that the vendor, whoever it is, can speak intelligently to what your site needs.
Yeah, definitely. I'll add to Weston's list there, and I love that, the fact that there is no one cookie cutter.
It's not a one size fits all.
No. And I like that. The other thing I'll add to that, because I've used it so many times, is availability of support. Being able to contact somebody is, and I mean not just through email. Nothing is more maddening than if I can't pick up the phone when something goes wrong with that site. Having that availability is absolutely crucial.
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't think of it, because we're available 24/7, so it's all never shuts down. So
well, from a customer perspective, that's one that I really appreciate, right?
Yeah.
Because I often don't look at this stuff throughout the day. It's when I hear of something going wrong, or I'm checking my stats, because I schedule a monthly task just to do a check-in. Because I'm a paranoid now, but I can pick it up at 9 o'clock at night and call in and get some questions answered, which is great.
So, but what about for the non-technical, the non-geeky, the person who has a website, and maybe their web provider or like whoever did everything for them isn't forthcoming in the information that they need? How do we know what to be asking for?
How do you mean?
Well, what if I can't answer some of the questions that you guys are asking?
Okay. Yeah.
How will I know where to go find that information?
Gotcha. So, for instance, if Bluehost sets it up for you, right?
Yeah.
So you say, "Oh, security sounds good." You buy it through your host, and your site's more secure. Um, Calling us would be one thing. We are our security associates are trained to, how do I say, to basically bridge that technical gap.
So
right?
they can walk me through a couple of different things. Check here, and
Yep.
that will guide me to providing you with the right answers to help fit the right package for me.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. And we deal with that every day. We deal with a broad range of technical skills.
And it gets even better than that. I just gotta
add
my 2 cents here because I'm a pretty technical guy.
I know, and I'm not.
And we were setting up a site for one of our customers because we recommend it now for all our customers. And we were setting it up, and there was a challenge with the connection, the FTP connection, and I just wanted some help. So I called in asking, why is it saying it's having a hard time connecting? And I expected them to say, here, click here, click here, click there. No, they said, that's okay, we'll fix it. Give us a login, we'll do it for you. And when it's done, we'll let you know and just change your password then. I'm like,
nice.
Get out of here.
Nice.
Yeah, a lot of, and that's the reaction we get a lot. People say, really? Like, yep, we'll do it for you.
Yeah.
And then very good security point. You can change your password after we're done.
Yeah. In fact, they said, change your password after we're done.
Yeah.
Just so you feel good about it. And I'm like,
Nice.
okay. That's awesome.
And we're happy to do that.
So they will back you up. And I imagine if I had been non-technical, they probably would have stepped in even before them. But, I didn't expect that. I'm fully technical, and I just was looking for some guidance. They said, let us take care of that for you. We'll fix it.
Yeah, we can. And we could do the whole gamut. We can, even if you're technical, we can do it for you. We can just let you do it. You can, anybody can figure out everything themselves if they like. If you're not technical, but you don't feel comfortable giving us your hosting, username and password, we'll walk you through it. We'll take that time to walk you through it.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I figure giving it to the security company that's protecting my site's pretty safe. But
okay.
Okay, so going into the busy holiday season, a lot more traffic, a lot more good and bad traffic, obviously, because everything's picking up. What are some tips, Weston, you can give some businesses that they can do outside of site protection? Obviously, we're recommending site protection, but what are some tips maybe outside of that realm that you would recommend businesses be thinking about or implementing?
Sure. Definitely look out for scams, right? Scams coming to your business, scams purporting to be your business. We've seen that as well. So just be really wary of the communication that you're getting. Don't click links that from unsolicited emails. Don't respond to unsolicited emails, especially if they're really goofy. Lots of misspelled words. Yeah, exactly. So really watch out for that because the holiday season is kind of big, kind of the scam season as well. Mm-hmm. I also, I'm like you already said, I'm recommending our own services, but the holidays also mean time off. Time with family, parties, things like that, and you can't have eyes on your website all the time. So here's where a service, whatever it is, SiteLock or any other service, comes in handy. It's going to protect your site when you're during your downtime. So I think those are two things that can really help you during this busy holiday season.
Awesome.
Okay, so we always like to end our interview. If you could give one piece of advice that listeners could take action on today that would benefit their business, what would your advice be?
To benefit their business. So I'm going to make it security related just because.
Kind of figured you would.
My recommendation would be to use a password manager. It is going to increase your security effectiveness. It's going to improve security across all of the websites and products you use. A couple that come to mind are LastPass or KeePass, KEE Pass. They're both free. I think there are some premium options for LastPass. There are others as well. But that's going to allow you to use complex passwords and automatically fill in those passwords for all the sites and services you use. And that's going to keep your website more secure, right? So you're going to use more secure. And I'm sorry, what a password manager is for for the viewers. It's basically think of it as an encrypted container, a safe for all of your passwords that is secured with one master password. So you as a user only have to remember one password. Then the rest are stored in a secure file on your phone, your computer, or in the cloud. And using that can help with website security because you're going to use better passwords for your WordPress site. You're not going to reuse passwords, say for your email and your website. It's going to improve your security all around.
We use LastPass ourselves.
Hey.
And George got us on LastPass quite a few years ago,
Yeah.
actually. Our kids use it as well, and I can't recommend it enough. I am always, when I see people pulling out, to find what their passcode is on something, I'm going, oh my God!
Or worse
bad
yet,
idea.
they're checking an online spreadsheet.
Oh my God, yeah!
I'm like,
Yeah, all in plain text, all in one place.
Yeah.
You're just giving it to the bad guys on a platter.
Exactly. Happy shopping.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
That's a great, valuable piece of advice.
incredible.
Very much so.
And we'll put links to all of those services that Weston just mentioned in the show notes as well. The episode and will be on the blog. You can get all those links there at measurementdoctor.com/MD048 for episode 48.
And Weston, I will actually ask if you can maybe send me the link to that blog post that you just recently wrote, and we'll add that in the show notes as well.
Because that's a great thing to write about, because so many businesses, they just say, why me? It's such a great topic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we would love to share that as well.
Yeah. And
Got it.
one last thing on that LastPass thing is their premium service. I don't know if you used LastPass, but their premium service, it's a joke as far as cost. It costs $12 a year. Like, it's so cheap.
And
A whole dollar.
And with that, I have it on my laptop, my iPad, and my iPhone.
But even their free is amazing.
I know, but just the app.
Yeah.
I am so excited that I have it everywhere.
I'm excited you're excited about
Thanks.
passwords.
I feel a little more protected.
You're a lucky man, George.
There we go. Yeah. Gosh dang it.
Thanks for sharing.
All right, let's head into the examination room.
No.
It's time for the examination room.
He's all smiles. Weston's all smiles. He has no clue what he's getting
Little nervous.
into.
Let Weston in on what he's getting into now.
Okay, so because you had mentioned that you had watched an episode or two, but you didn't make it all the way to the end, we're now going to share a quote with you, and you get to give us your take on the quote.
Okay.
Yes. So
Okay.
Now, it doesn't have to be security related. This can be just, philosophical.
Whatever comes to mind.
Whatever comes to mind.
All right.
There you go, loosening up. Yep.
Okay.
Free
But-
thinking.
But our quote today is from John F. Kennedy.
Oh, wow.
And it is, there are risks and costs to a program of action, but they are far less than the long-range costs of comfortable inaction.
Oh, wow.
I kind of thought
That's-
this was fitting when I picked it, but
It is.
I
It
think she's
mentioned-
making it too easy on you, frankly.
Well, it harkens back to what George said earlier about being preventative. I think, and again, you said I could. I'm going to go outside the realm of
Absolutely.
security. I think that change and growth are essential for all people and probably businesses as well. And if you're not doing something, whether it's preparing for something, a race or a class that you're taking at college, then you're not doing what is best for you and your loved ones. So that's what I think. I think you always have to be moving, always have to be growing.
awesome.
I love it.
I like it.
Oh,
Wow,
thank
he
you.
put a spin on it.
I know.
He did do this.
He did. He loosened
I?
up
Oh.
for it, eh?
I like it. Well done. I'll just add basically to that because that was fantastic. That was.
I know, it's right up your alley, right?
Yeah, that was a little deep, and I hope people really listen to the inner hint there of growth.
Yes.
Because if you're not growing, you're shrinking. I believe that. The momentum's happening one way or the other. But I'll just add the one point to that is negligence is not a solution. It is not an action. So just because you may not have known about web security until today and listening to this is not an excuse not to look for what I need to do to be online properly. And it is a component to being online, security, and pushing your growth to ask questions, to research, to search out blog posts like Weston's writing or this podcast and listen to this kind of stuff and become accountable for your actions and drive action that way. Really, in the end, we have nobody to blame but ourselves. So it's pushing towards that growth. So I love it.
You left me last today.
I did. Well, because, we covered everything. I just want to know what you're going to come up
That was well said, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm going to take it from a different perspective again.
Okay.
And say maybe about procrastination and fear. In the fact, if we're wanting something good to happen in our lives, if we're wanting to take action, but we keep holding ourselves back because we're comfortable in staying at the status quo, you're not growing and you're not doing yourself or, as Weston said, your family, any good service. You're doing a disservice to society. And you really need to be a little bit more of a risk taker and get yourself out there. If you want to live life to the fullest, you just got to go.
You're getting deep.
I know.
Oh, wow, awesome. You guys, I'm so pumped now.
Wow. All
Awesome.
Right. Time to go for a run now. All right, Weston. How can people reach out and connect with you and find your blog and connect with SiteLock? Give us some hints on how to reach out to you.
Sure, of course, everybody can go to SiteLock.com. We've got a toll-free number where you can talk to somebody 24 hours a day. You can get me. I'm on Twitter as SiteLock Weston.
Awesome.
SiteLock with an O. And then our blog, where our research team and our marketing team writes, is at blog.sitelock.com.
That's
Perfect.
Awesome. I didn't even realize you guys had a blog, so I'm gonna get registered up for that. That's fantastic. Awesome. Weston, thank you so much for today. That was absolutely fantastic. I know our listeners are going to get a ton of information out of that, and we really appreciate you taking the time to invest in our show and help our listeners benefit.
You're very welcome. Thank you. It was a pleasure. This was a lot of fun. Thank you so much.
I was just about to say, to be totally honest, you weren't as geeky as I thought you might have been.
Oh, I can get geeky.
You made this a lot of fun, and I think our listeners are going to get a lot of value out of this. So thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
All right, so until next time.
Oh, don't do a thing in business
Or in life.
unless you're measuring it.
Have a great day, everybody.
Ciao for now.